Meredith, thank you for joining me on our podcast. I love to showcase agent stories. I think we are all finished products on the internet, and people don't know how to go from 0 to 1 in a lot of things. And so there's lots of parts of your story that I want to unpack, but I just want to jump right into it. Why don't you take us back to whatever part of the story you think is the beginning of your real estate career, whether it's, the prior to the industry you came from and what kind of drew you to your career and, even launching in a brand new city where you did not grow up in.
Yeah, well, it's definitely been an evolution, as I know everyone's story is, but I would say it really kind of goes back to college. I got a degree in art, which is not necessarily the foundation that you think of a lot of business people having.
Because I actually have one too.
Oh, you
Um,
do?
mine was in graphic design, but I did spend 2 years like in the
Mine
art
too.
department. So I like painted and sculpted before I went into the tech side. So
Yeah, same, same. I feel so fortunate that I had that experience, but of course, I graduated from college thinking like, how am I ever going to make any money doing this, right? So I grew up in the Midwest. As soon as I graduated from college, I thought, most of my friends were going to Chicago or Indianapolis, and I just thought, I want to go. If I'm going to make no money and I have no money and I have no job, why wouldn't I go somewhere amazing? So I bought a one-way ticket to San Francisco. I got there, landed, and started looking for a job. At the time, you used headhunters to help you find a job. I don't even know if that's still a thing, but I ended up getting a job with a hedge fund, and definitely a pivot from my art background to go work in the financial services world. But I loved it. And I was just a sponge for information and learned so much while I was there and had some really incredible mentors. And interestingly enough, the founder of that firm was an art collector, and he had this incredible art collection in the office. So I just felt really inspired being there. They hired me to do graphic design. So I was working mostly on like website and materials for the fund. And as I was there, I was learning some of the software platforms that they used, and I got really interested in that. And these consultants would come in and train me how to use the platform and help me be more efficient. And, these were like 25-year-old kids traveling expense accounts, and I was like, that looks amazing, I want that. So ended up interviewing with this tech company and got hired, and spent 18 years of my career there in the Bay Area working for this tech company, traveling all over the country, working with different asset managers, helping them implement tools and be more efficient. And I realized 18 years into it, I had three little kids. I was traveling all the time. I was managing a team in New York and San Francisco. And I just thought, like, is this how I'm going to spend the rest of my life? Like on a plane, away from my family. And I decided that I had a big birthday, and I was like, if I'm ever going to make a change, now's the time, right? So I shed the golden handcuffs, as I like to call it, because it's like, it's scary, right? I had an 18-year career in corporate America. I had great paycheck. I had a lot of success, and I was like, I'm basically throwing this all away and taking a leap. But I did it, and it's been the best change I've ever made in my life. So got my real estate license mostly because I wanted to tap back into that creative part of me where I loved architecture, real estate, design. I had a friend that owned a boutique brokerage, and he was really encouraging me to get my license. So I did that. As soon as I got my license, my husband got a new job opportunity in Texas. We knew no one in Texas. I'd never been to Austin. And we picked up our family, sold our house, and moved to Texas. When I got here, I had to get my new license because it's state by state, as you know. And I knew enough at that point to be dangerous, right? Because I knew the lingo, and I knew what questions to ask, and I knew about brokerages and splits. And so as I was studying for my Texas license, I would just get up every day. I treated it like a job, and I would just drive and learn the area, right? Because we didn't know the area. I would learn about schools. I would learn about neighborhoods. I would drive different suburbs, and I would just make that my full-time job while I was getting my license until I could get active. Then I was also interviewing with brokerages just to understand, like, what's the right fit for me in this new place where I don't know anybody, I don't have a network. And I ended up with an amazing boutique brokerage here that's really, really successful. It was a great place to land. He was doing a lot of online lead generation. And for me, that was the key to getting started, right? It was kind of like lit the fire under me because it was busy. He had a lot of online leads, and I felt like it's business I wouldn't have had otherwise. I was happy to get them and work them. And I had my first year here, I did $10 million, not knowing a single person in Austin, not knowing the area really. And it's just grown from there. It's been absolutely incredible.
Talk to me about that journey of becoming, starting in the business, joining a team, growing a team, and as of right now, you are crushing it as a solo agent. So as we're recording this before the year's up, you're over, 40 transactions, on track to do over 40 million. And one of the things that I looked up before doing this, you do more listings than buyers, which is absolutely what I tell everyone to focus on, especially in a market like this one, where for anyone watching this in the future, this is end of 2025. Austin has had quite a bit of inventory growing. And if I talk to the average agent in Austin, they don't even want to work with sellers right now. They want to work with buyers.
Yeah.
And uh, I I just spoke to 2,000 people in Vegas yesterday at an event, and I told everybody, even if it feels like that's what you want, do the opposite. Lean in on sellers, grow your inventory. It is the most important time to do that right now. So let's jump into that, because I think it's such an important part of the process to grow your business and control your schedule.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, I will say. So I spent the first 8 years of my career. So I've been in the business 10 years. I spent the first 8 years really buyer heavy, right? Because that's how you grow your business. You get buyers.
I think that's where we have to start.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm glad I did. I mean, listen, I love working with buyers. I still like, if someone said, "What's your preference?" I love the experience of working with buyers and the hunt for the perfect house and the education and the tours and the time together. I love that. I love being with people. Um, about 2 years ago, I set some very intentional goals around just wanting some of my time back, feeling like I needed more time at my desk working on my business rather than being in my car all day long, where I'd get home at night and I'd have 700 emails I'd have to work through. And I just felt like I was in this frenetic pace, and it just didn't really feel great to me. So I set some intentional goals that I was really going to focus on listings. And of course, my business is 100% referral based. So of course my buyers eventually would list, but it takes time, right? It's only been 10 years. So I decided that I wanted my business to be more 50-50 buyers and sellers. Well, I pivoted, but I pivoted basically the full other spectrum, right? So I went from 100% buyers to basically like 100% listings. And I missed the market for both of those things, meaning like, during the pandemic when it was so crazy, you wanted listings and I had all buyers. And then as the market started to turn in Austin, I was getting all listings, but buyers weren't as active because the prices were so high. We had so much inventory, still do, but it's so I definitely am more listing heavy now, but I've really learned to lean into that because I did ask for it and it is how I wanted my business to transition. And it does give me more time to work on my business where I can be spending time focusing on my past clients who do feed me those referrals. And it just gives me, I feel like, a little bit more balance in my day. The seller piece, it's emotional, right? And I think one of my superpowers is the relationship that I build with people. And that happens on the buyer side too, but it's stressful in our market when you're a seller and we have the number one buyer's market in the country right now. Sellers are stressed. Their lives are on hold waiting for us to help them sell their house to allow them to move on. And it's a huge responsibility that I don't take lightly. And so I think the most important piece for me is just making sure that I'm staying in constant communication with them. I'm helping them understand what's happening in the market. I'm educating them. I can't control the market, right? I can control how we market their property and I can control how I communicate with them and how I make them feel, but I can't control the market. So we're doing the best we can right now.
First question there, because I think a lot of agents get stuck there. So if you look, these are some fun stats. If you look at scaled brokerages, the largest national brokerages, there's actually almost a 60-40 split, 60% buyers, 40% listings. And I don't have the math on this, but this is what my guess is that's probably because like only 20% of agents take listings, right? And that 20% probably take 80% of the listings. And so we end up with this dichotomy of 60-40, even though it's got to be 50-50 at scale because there's 4 million, 5 million transactions, whatever the transactional count is for the year. But it's probably very close to Pareto's law, where a very few amount of the agents do almost all the listings. You went from one extreme to the other. which, by the way, I encourage people to do as soon as possible, just because it's just math. You spend about 30 hours with a seller, you spend about 87 hours with a buyer. And you normally have to go to that seller's house a couple times, not 6 months of driving all over, God's green earth. So, what was step 1? How did you go from I'm only like if someone's listening to this and they're an agent, they've been in the business for 3 years, they've done 30, 40 deals, and they've just never worked with a seller or have only done a couple listings and like, how do I do that? What what were the was it the mental steps? Was it the activity? What did you start to control in order to do that pivot?
Well, I think first of all, mindset is everything, right? Like if you believe it, it can happen. You have to allow it to happen, right? So, but you also have to be intentional about it. So, like when I said I made that intentional goal that I was going to be more of a listing agent, I put that energy out to the world and that comes back to me. That's how I feel like my business works. And I feel like you get what you give, right? And so I'm putting out there that that's what I want from my clients. And I'm also making sure that my clients see me as a listing agent, right? So that means like, how are they viewing me in the world? What's my social media saying to them? What am I saying to them when I see them in person, right? So it's really just like changing your dialogue around when people ask you, how's the market? Talk about your listings, right? So make sure that you are putting out to the world what you want people to perceive you as. Social media is a huge thing. I mean, we spend a lot of time there. We're very active in social. And so
Talk about that because I create a ton of content. And by the way, I
you're
didn't
doing
have a
great, by
face.
the way.
Thank you, thank you. But for context for people, I didn't have a Facebook account 18 months ago. I made a Facebook account when I was announced CEO because Glenn's like, I can't tag you. You need one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've been very intentional about it, but I want you to unpack that for people because it's funny when I start talking about content, people are like, oh, well, you don't count because you have support and help and a team. I'm like, no, no. By the way, most of it is me, and secondly, it's a story you tell yourselves. But um, even how you said how you talk. I sold real estate during the financial crisis, and at the same time, everyone wanted buyers too, and it was even like going to Buffini events, and it was like modify your scripts from, oh, by the way, do you know anyone who wants to buy or sell real estate? Just do you know anyone who sell real estate?
Yeah.
Like cut out the part you don't want, even in what you ask for to
Yep.
your past customers, your friends, the universe, whatever, however you want to put it out there. But walk us through with. I even want to know if you think about it deep enough where 70% is kind of personal, anecdotal content versus 30% is business content. Talk me how you think through that.
So, well, I have someone that helps me. So that definitely helps, right? But it didn't start that way.
I was
And I
going to say, yeah,
do
but that's where you're at today. Let's go back to
Yeah.
the
So,
vision
okay.
tree
So
of
when I
how you want to
started,
do
I think social media is scary to start, right? Because it's like nobody's really comfortable putting themselves out there. But you do get to a point where you're just like, it's easy. You stop caring what people see. And honestly, like, I don't even watch a lot of my own content because it's like, I know it's out there. It's uncomfortable to watch myself speak on a camera, but it's more just like being out there, being seen, being top of mind for my clients. So when I started, I laid out kind of like, okay, I'm going to post 5 times a week and I'm going to do a design feature, I'm going to do an Austin feature, I'm going to do a restaurant, I'm going to do a real estate. And so I set a schedule, and I think obviously we know with everything consistency is key, right? You just have to do it. And so having a schedule was really helpful to me because it held me accountable to what I was going to be posting, and it helped me source content. So I would get my content ready the week before and I would just have it all ready to go. I think where people kind of get tripped up and they lose consistency is they don't plan, and
it.
two, they um, sorry, I lost my train of thought.
No, 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 you're killing it, and I actually wrote something down on my phone as you said it. I was like, "I need to tell my team that," because the planning and the organizing and the thought process, like, right now, we are actually realizing the algorithm switches and, like, on the posts that are words are hitting and the videos are underperforming, and
Yeah,
and I was literally on with my team before we recorded this, and the videos take 10 times the effort.
yeah,
But I said to them, I was like, "We still need to lean in and do more," because it's kinda like buyers and sellers where when the algorithm switches, I'd rather have a ton of content
Yes.
already there because all of a sudden I'll look at a post and it has like 10,000 views. I'm like, wait, I made that like 2 weeks ago, but all of a
Yeah.
sudden the algorithm picks it up and sends it out to the universe. So
Well, you're right. It's hard to keep up with that stuff, right? Like, of course, I have someone who helps me now who can look into that. But as agents, like we don't solo agents, you don't really have time. So I would say, like, just put information out there. People are so interested in what our jobs are like day to day, right? I think there's so many people who don't work in real estate that want to know, like, what's it look like inside that house? What's your day like? So just,
because on that subject, talk about what not to do on social because
well,
you nailed it in the sense that people are super interested. But when I see like just listed under contract, like
yeah,
I scroll past it. And by
yeah,
the way, I love looking at real estate. 23 years in this business, and I still, when someone makes a cool video about a house, I watch it. So talk
yeah.
to me about what agents should not do.
Well, it's funny you say that because we still post like just listed under contract more for our clients,
I was gonna
right?
say,
So
but not exclusively, right?
yeah,
It's
no, 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 just so they can, like, see their house, but it is, like, our least performing content, like, nobody really wants to see that, right? What people do wanna see is, like, video and content about your day, as I said. What I never do is talk about politics, I never talk about religion. I try to make as much content
thank you for saying that. I don't think enough agents it's like, look, I respect all of our opinions, but we're actually very public facing to a whole
yes,
bunch of humans. You could be turning
yes,
off a potential buyer or seller with differing
absolutely.
opinions.
Absolutely. So, yeah, and I'd say, just being professional, like putting yourself out there the way you want people to see you. And that's how do you dress in your videos, right? What do you look like? Like, I'm never going to make a video in my workout clothes. Doesn't mean I'm not in my workout clothes. That's real life. But that's just not what I want people to see out there. I don't do a lot of personal stuff on my social media. I have kids. I don't know. I've just never really been sure how I feel about that. So I have my own separate personal social media, and then I have my professional. And there's some crossover,
Let me
but
talk about that because if depending on who you follow and who you listen to, there's look I think there's a camp of don't share anything personal, like Gary Vaynerchuk or folks with kids sometimes say, hey, I'm not going to share anything. Um, and then there's folks who are like, look, there's only one Meredith, and
yeah,
how do you distinguish the two?
yeah,
So if you follow me on social, I only have one account. I would say it's 95% business just because of the volume of content we put out. But then it's still like, over the weekend, Halloween, my wife's birthday, like that's all one thing. I wouldn't have somewhere else to put that. So I'm always curious on that thought process.
yeah. I think it's more that I started that way, and like I love your content. I love seeing your family, right? So it's like it's you. It's personal. It helps people make a stronger connection to you. So I think if I had to like go back and change it, I probably would sprinkle
All
in
right,
more
well, this is
personal.
live coaching.
Maybe I will. Who knows? But I mean, the funny thing is,
Back from pivoting right now.
yeah, the funny thing is like my kids are probably more active on social media than I am, and I'm like here trying to protect them from my account.
Which is when I've heard the argument to like just like there's a couple of like, quotes that come to mind. One is like you can't hide from your kids. They'll eventually find out who you are, right? Like that's a
Yeah,
pretty powerful one I read the other day. I was like, "Oh, wow, that really hits home." So like
yeah,
whoever you are, right? There's like literally no way around it. And then the second one is like yeah, like they're better and savvier and more active than we are. Like my kids don't have social, they don't have iPhones, but like the other day, I was like, my wife, my daughter's like, I was watching this thing. I was like, on what? She's like, Capca. I was like, wait, Capca has videos? Like, I thought that was an editing tool. And then she showed me that there's like a social component to it. I'm like, man, she's 10. I got to pay attention everywhere because
yeah, I know.
they know how to get to it. They know how to find it. They know how to operate it. They know how to create in it.
We should just let them manage our accounts, really.
Eventually, yeah, absolutely. When they hit a certain age, I probably will. I'm
Yeah,
telling myself they're not getting social till they're 16, but they're 10 and 8. We'll see how long I put up that fight.
okay. I'll check back with you.
So the other part that I wanna make sure we hit on, especially for our folks in the Austin market, in the
Yeah,
southwest of Florida, there's markets where, so like, I would actually, wanna double check if South Florida may take that spot of number 1 buyer market, because they've had a 11% year-over-year price reduction. So again, for people watching 2 years from now, latter part of 2025, South Florida dropped almost 11%. Way more buyers than sellers. What conversations are you having with sellers? And walk me through, do you do that like at the first appointment? Do you set expectations? Hey, if we miss the mark, we miss the market. We did all the controllable stuff. At what point do you ask for a price reduction? Like, would you set expectations like, hey, in 2 weeks, in 4 weeks, in 6 weeks, in 8 weeks? Because what we're seeing right now, Meredith, at scale is the highest cancellation rate of listings in 10 years. And so
Mhm.
what I'm seeing is a seller's like, okay, will you sell it for 700? And you're like, sure. And then 90 days go by. And then they fire that agent and be like, will you sell it for 700? And another 90 days go by. And then they're on their third try at the same price with no actual significant change in strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. So this has taken time. I mean, we've been in a down market for almost 3 years in Austin. And I would say, early on, you're trying to get the listing. And so it's a push and pull with the client about like they want something and you want this and you kind of meet in the middle. I've gotten to a point where I've just gotten really direct with sellers. And I go into the first meeting about here's what's happening in the market, here's the data you need to know, here's how competitive it's going to be, and here are the things that are going to be the most important to your household.
And,
And
and,
if
and right there, I want to unpack that because I want people to
Yeah.
walk away and say, okay, what do you show up with? What do you show them? Like very,
So usually, yeah. So sometimes the first meeting is just a video call. So it's just a conversation. If I'm going in person, I know the data. It's more a dialogue. I find that when I show things at a listing appointment, it's so distracting for sellers. And I feel like this is the connection, right? I want to look you in the eye. I want to have a conversation about what are your goals? How can I help you? Right. So I usually don't show up with much, right? Like I will take comps if we're going to get to that discussion. But honestly, if I'm going into a place for the first time, I'm not even talking about pricing because I haven't seen it. I haven't seen how you live, the condition, the lot, the view. Like I don't know enough to give you a price while I'm there. And so I set that expectation early that, my goal is to get to know you, understand your needs, our goals together, how we'll work together, what I can offer, and then I'm going to come back to you with a listing proposal. Um, as I said, I've gotten really direct with sellers, and I think we need to. We need to have honest conversations because we're really doing ourselves and them a disservice if we're not being honest about what's happening in the market, what's happening with pricing, what's the buyer mentality right now, what are buyers doing, what are rates doing. People don't know. We live and breathe this every day, so we sort of assume like, yeah, of course, people know what's happening with rates because we talk about it every day. Most people have no idea, right? They hear rates are high or they hear rates are down or they don't know. And they also don't know how a buyer is going to respond to what's happening in the market. So it's really just an honest conversation about that. And then for me, I won't take a listing if we cannot get on the same page where it's a collaboration and we're going to work together. And it's not just my way or no way. It's we have to agree that this is going to be our strategy. And if we can't agree, I'm probably not the right listing agent for you. We have 20,000 realtors in Austin, right? Like, yes, I want the business, but I want to make sure I'm the right fit for the business. You know this as well as anyone. Listings are expensive, right? It costs me a lot to
what's your number? Because I tell every agent they should know their average cost to bring a listing to market.
um six, it depends on the house, but I'd say 6,500.
So NAR stat across the country is roughly 2,500, and agents
Yeah.
are shocked when I say that. And I say, by the way, guys, that's average. I
Yeah.
think it's like
Yeah.
Austin's price point is almost double the national average,
Yeah.
so that makes sense that you spend about that much. And um, like, let's unpack that because I don't think most agents like I tell them like, listen, if you take 10 listings that don't sell and that's $65,000.
Yeah.
That is an enormous amount of money.
It is.
Do you share that? So I'm curious, do you like, is that part of your script to say to a seller, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if I were to bring this listing to market, I'm going to invest a minimum of $6,500. If it doesn't sell, do you have a conversation of like, is it fair for me to have a non-refundable marketing fee? Or like, is that part of the price reduction strategy? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so I've never charged a fee. I know people in my market do, and or they charge back their marketing expenses. Um, to me, like Austin is still a smallish town, and every relationship matters so much to me that I feel like when I'm investing in a listing, I'm investing in that relationship forever. I may not sell their house, right? And I may take a $6,500 loss, but they may say she did the best she could do given the market, and they may share my name with someone else, right? I feel personally, if I'm going to ask them for that money back, I did not sell their house. I ask them to pay me $6,500 back, is there any chance they're going to refer me? Probably not. Right. So I'm investing in the long game of what that could potentially turn into. The other thing is like sometimes selling is not the best option. So maybe we try it for 3 months. I bet I've had 15 listings over the last 2 years that we've pulled off the market and we've put for lease, right? And I'll list your house for free for lease because I want to list it again for sale next year when you decide to sell.
Conversation up front? Did you say, "Hey, let's try this for 90 days, and if it doesn't work, are we gonna lease?" I'm always curious about, like, do you set those expectations up front?
Yes. Well, I set expectations up front, but they're different for every seller, right? I don't have a tailored script. I mean, of course, I have like an outline, but it's different for every seller. Some people have to sell. And so having the conversation about we can set it for lease isn't the right thing to have on day one, right? But in 90 days, maybe I'm having that conversation. Sometimes in 30 days, if we go to the market, we're not getting any showings, we need to start talking about a pivot now rather than you getting frustrated 30 days from now that we still have no showings. We don't have any other options. So it really just depends. Yeah. I mean, if I know it's going to be a really impossible sale because maybe it's a newish house and it's surrounded by all kinds of new construction and the builders can get so aggressive on pricing and interest rates, maybe I'm having that conversation from day one that like, here are options. Let's list it for 30 days. And if we don't get that, let's list it in parallel for lease as well. Right. And just do what happens first. So, and I feel like the way that I approach it, it makes people feel like I'm looking out for their best interest, right? I'm not thinking about my payday. My payday will come. I'm not at all worried about the commission and when it's going to get paid. It will come at some point. But for me, it's more about building trust, adding value, and showing them that I am on their team working for them.
Then the last part that I wanna cover that I think need some team leaders need permission, right? To decide, "Hey, I actually don't want to be a team leader, and I want to have a solo practice and
Yeah.
control it all." And I say it very openly. Like, being a team leader is not for everybody, and it's not the most profitable thing. There are I know phenomenal agents all over the country who make more money net and probably have more life balance than some of the team leaders that we have on our leaderboard. So let's talk about that one for a little bit.
Yeah. So, I think in this industry, you build up a solo career and you feel like you have some success and you feel automatically like, well, I should build a team, right? Like I've had success. I want to work around other people. I'll bring people in. I'll teach them how I do it, and we'll build this amazing thing together. We did that, and it was humbling, to be quite honest. It was much harder than I thought it was going to be. Building a team takes so much time, effort, and money to invest in people. And while I felt like I had this secret sauce of what worked for me, I it took me a while to learn like that's not for everybody, right? That's the beauty of this industry is everybody does it a little bit differently and can find success different ways. My way wasn't just the best way. It works for me, but it's not for everyone. And so, when we had a team, the market was definitely transitioning from the peak of the pandemic to a declining market here in Austin. And I found it hard to keep morale up, right? Like I'm very big on culture and positive energy. And when you're in a declining market, it was hard to keep people excited. I also found, I started to feel guilty for like my own success when other people on my team weren't having success. And it wasn't profitable, right? Like agents were costing us money and there was a lot of overhead related to having a team. And I found that I was sort of losing some of the joy that I had for the business that I had grown. So we made the move to EXP, and during that transition, dissolved our team. And now I'm able to use all that time, money, energy, and focus it back on my business. And I couldn't be happier. I mean, I'm still very close with the agents who are on our team, and we collaborate a lot together in Austin. But I think it feels good to be alone.
Do you send referrals out to folks that are not necessarily on your team if you get overloaded with buyers? How do you make that decision?
Yeah, I do. I mean, if It depends on what it is. I mean, I try to do everything, right? But there are times when you just don't have the bandwidth or you're going to be out of town. So then, yeah, I will refer it out to someone that I have a lot of respect for in our market. And I try to be thoughtful about it. Like, who's really trying to build a business and like would be so happy to work that referral. It's also a reflection of me, right? If that referral came to me, I want to make sure whoever I'm referring to has the same sort of vibe and energy that I have and will make that client happy too.
And how do you intentionally work your database? So yesterday I spoke at Unlock, and it was funny because someone's like Errol Samuelson, their chief industry relations officer, said, "Hey, what agents should be working on?" And I said, in at a Zillow event, I said, "Hey, this might not be what you guys want to hear, but I said." You need to be working your past customers, right? Like Zillow referrals are expensive. Realtor VIP referrals are expensive. Homelight referrals are expensive. And statistically in 2024, 66% of sellers worked with the agent who sold them the house and or a referral from a friend or a family member who's a
Yeah.
trusted person, with seller referrals only becoming about 9% from portals, which again is a different demographic than buyers, right? First time home buyers, I think, are probably way more open and susceptible to talking to the first person you talk to versus a seller at least has one deal. So they are substantially more sophisticated than a
Yeah.
first time home buyer in the sense that they probably know what they don't want. And just to, when I say that statistic, I think agents are shocked because it's like, wait, I thought the internet was everything. Now it's like, yeah, they start on portals, but sellers specifically, which is what you've mastered over the last couple of years, disproportionately go with referrals and or someone they have an existing relationship with. So in 2025 and in 2026, you haven't been in the business as long as I have, but once upon a time, I was sending out mailers and recipe cards and all the stuff that was pre-social. And I think social is like the best living sphere of influence database. But talk to me about how you intentionally stay in touch with the human beings, in addition to creating content and being consistent.
Yeah. So, well, this is the thing I'm most obsessive about is my past clients. I feel like you work so hard to make them past clients, right? And they're in your database. It's free. It's free marketing. Like instead of spending money buying a lead, I want to spend money and time and effort working these people who already know, like, and trust me, right? They've already worked with me. We work our database every single day. So we are constantly combing for birthdays, home anniversaries, kids' birthdays, engagements on social media, new babies born. We're like our whole goal we think about is like we want to make people feel special. We want to make people feel remembered and surprised that they're hearing from their realtor because they got engaged. We'll send a little gift or whatever it might be. And I tell people like, I mean, I'm looking at my wall. I have a whole wall in my office of just like gifting things that we send to people. But it didn't start that way. It can start so simply. It can be a handwritten note congratulating someone on something, right? And
Well,
so,
I even tell agents it like when you're scrolling through Facebook and you see a life event,
yes,
don't just comment on the post. Just open your text and send them a, hey, happy birthday.
yeah,
Happy birthday
yeah.
via text. Like to me, especially like when the Facebook algorithm tells people it's your birthday and you go to your wall and there's like 300 comment, it's hard to keep track of that versus like if someone just opens it up and sends a direct text message,
Yeah.
you just cut through the noise by an order of magnitude.
Yeah, and you're surprised, right? And you're delighted to hear from someone that you haven't heard from in a while. Um, I mean, we hope they hear from us frequently. But yeah, I would say, if you see that on Facebook, yes, send the text, but put that in your database, right? Like we collect so much personal information on our clients. If we see something that we don't already know about, we're putting it in our database. Their dogs' names, their kids' names, where they work, new jobs. So we're scouring LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, looking for this information and know the demographic of your client, right? If your client is 50 plus, chances are they're going to be more active on Facebook than they are on Instagram, right? And so we know where these people are and we know how to connect with them that way, but then also out. I'm huge on handwritten notes. I mean, I grew up in the South, and so writing handwritten notes was just like my mom wouldn't let me leave the house until I wrote a thank you note for whatever was happening. And so I feel like we don't really get special things in the mail anymore, right? And so we write a lot.
Handwritten notes to our top 250 solos, our top 250 teams. every agent on the Real Trends list every year, whether they're with our company or it's another company. So I'm with you. I fully,
Amazing.
and I think the reason why we put such an emphasis on that is I think as human beings, and I think it's a multiple higher going into this AI driven digital creation world. It's 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 subconscious proof that I gave you my time. Like I
Yeah.
took time to do something, like from pulling it out, from using my horrible handwriting to putting a stamp on it, making sure I went to the mail.
Yeah. I mean, it's the human element too, right? Going back to what I said about just making people feel special. It's the little things. We don't always hear from people. We don't always hear like, thank you, I got your handwritten note. But for me, it's like, it makes me feel good. So it fills my cup. It makes them have a moment of joy, right? But then it also keeps us top of mind. I don't need to be checking in about real estate. I don't need to just be sending a newsletter or a just listed or just sold post on Instagram. For me, it's that personal connection that I think keeps people coming back and keeps people referring to me because it makes me relatable to them as well.
Well, this was really fun. I'm grateful for your time and the fact that you gave us some insights, because there's some team leader and or for newer agent who's going to be inspired to try something different. So thank you for what you do in the Austin market, and I look forward to seeing you at the next event.
Thanks, Leo. I love chatting with you.